I'm 35 years old and my girlfriend is 30 years old. We moved in together 2 years ago. We decided to combine our incomes as we were in a serious relationship and considering marriage, but wanted to get to know each other in our natural environment first. After a year of living together, she told me she had a $32,000 debt and explained how her mother had pawned some family heirlooms due to a family emergency. She took out a loan to help her mother recover the jewelry, but never fully recovered financially. She didn't mention it earlier because she was afraid I wouldn't move in with her and combine finances without knowing about it. If I had known, I wouldn't have until she had paid off her debt. She also admitted that during the time we lived together, she hadn't made any payments as she didn't want me to notice she was taking money. Her credit had accrued significant payments and interest. I felt really bad about this, thanked her for trusting me, reassured her that we were a team, and told her we would solve this together. I took out a loan to pay off her debt and secure more manageable payments. She told me she didn't qualify for any other loans as her income isn't that great. We continued living as usual, making more manageable payments. In November, we moved to a bigger and more expensive house. We wanted to live more comfortably and were considering buying my dream dog, a Great Dane. During this time, she mentioned there had been a mistake with her payment, and accounting paid someone else instead of her. One of her coworkers has the same name. At the time, I didn't pay much attention to it as she mentioned it would be fixed in the following weeks. In our second week in the new house, she told me she was pregnant. I was over the moon, but she was sad. She confessed to me that she had a gambling addiction and had used my emergency credit card, which I never use or check the balance of, to gamble. And she had other loans as well. It turned out she had maxed out my card, and the total debt was about $100,000. She said she didn't want to have a baby we couldn't afford. I was crushed. I wasn't expecting a baby, but definitely wanted to start a family with her. And at first, the baby seemed like a blessing. However, upon learning about the debt, I realized we couldn't afford a baby. We decided to terminate the pregnancy at 8 weeks because of her gambling problem and the debts. The next couple of months were a struggle with the trust I had in my partner and the debt I had incurred, and I entered survival mode. I am not a religious man, but I was raised Catholic, so we turned to God to find strength. During this time, she promised me and our little B, the baby's nickname, that she would quit gambling because she realized it had taken away both her and my happiness. And we paid the gambling price with our own child. She said she was only getting help, that she joined a group that helped people with her addiction. And just a few weeks ago, life started to feel worth living again, and I was able to feel some hope. A week ago, it turned out she never quit gambling. She managed to get a new credit card, I don't know how, and spent a month's payment. I broke down and had a panic attack. I started sobbing and hitting myself until I lost all my strength. I was furious because she had promised our baby never to do this again. I wanted to take my things and leave, but at the same time, it felt like she was a victim of herself too, and I could see the pain she was feeling. I asked her for everything. I wanted her to show me all the bank statements, all the bets, and just everything. She didn't want to, but I gave her an ultimatum. She played daily, sometimes with small amounts, sometimes with big amounts. A day after we lost the baby, she was gambling. The current situation is she has self-excluded herself from the gambling platforms. She is going to Gamblers Anonymous, Georgia. Today will be her first week. I asked her for control of her debit card, but she refused to give it to me and offered to talk about it in GA. I spoke with her brother and mother about it and asked them not to give her any money. It turns out they loaned her some small amounts during the past year. Her family told me she had this problem when she was younger, but she had been clean for several years. They asked me if I wanted them to have an intervention, but I declined, fearing she might start lying again. Her brother reaches out to me daily to check on how we are doing. I feel broken. I no longer trust her. I'm considering moving to another room, but at the same time, she was my best friend, and I still love her and want to support her, and for her to support me. I am waiting for her to come back from GA, and I don't know what to do. We have been together for 4 years, and just a few months ago, I was sure she was the one. I wanted to marry her and live the rest of my life with her, But is this worth saving? Can it be saved? I am fully in survival mode and feel alone. I can't talk to my family because they will ask me to leave her. I can't talk to my friends. They will always judge her about this. I am living day by day, and I know this is hard for her too. But I am at my lowest. Any advice on what to do now? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Lesson number 1. Never trust the promises of an addict. Yes, gambling is an addiction in this case. Lesson number 2. Never pay off someone else's debt, especially if you're not even married yet. Lesson number 3. Do not have a relationship with someone you cannot trust. Lesson number 4. A relationship that makes you feel worse is not worth having. The problem here is that your girlfriend cannot be trusted, which she has shown repeatedly, and that she seems to be quite manipulative in getting her addiction covered up. I'd say free yourself of your lying girlfriend who you cannot trust, of her debt that you really should not have to pay off, and sue to get your money back. Because let's be frank, she literally stole $100,000 from you. Keep in mind she does not need you or your support or your relationship to get her gambling addiction cured. She needs to get cured in order to be ready to be in a relationship. Do not let her drag you down into the hole she's been shoveling for quite some time now. Comment 2. Unfortunately, there is no great answer here. This is the reality of gambling addiction, and it goes to the core of who they are. She's in GA, that's good, but she probably should go to therapy, as often the behavior is a symptom of a deeper problem, compensatory for a dysfunction more foundational than just a quick buck, and that allows her to be so manipulative. As for you, well, the damage may be done. You've had your emotions built up and smashed down a lot of times already, and even if this time it works out, she still hurts you. On top of that, the reality that potentially this cycle will repeat many more times. In my eyes, the time to leave was some time ago. I worry that while you do it for love, that this became codependency, that you unwittingly became an enabler. I think you should look into support not just for the emotional burnout, but also to help establish stronger boundaries and work out what leaving looks like if it comes to that. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around to hear more of this mess. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, they did. Last week, my girlfriend's brother called me, his voice shaking. He had found out something that knocked the wind out of me. Turns out, the story about her coworker getting her paycheck by mistake was a lie. She had actually been funneling our money into a secret account for months, preparing to leave me high and dry. I couldn't believe it. The woman I loved, who I thought was battling her demons, was plotting against me. I confronted her and she broke down, confessing everything. She said she was scared of her addiction and wanted a way out without dragging me down with her. But the betrayal stung deep. I felt like a fool, a puppet in her hands. She had been manipulating me, and I was too blinded by love to see it. In the aftermath, I was a wreck. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I was living in a house that now felt too big, too empty. But I had to pull myself together. I had to protect what was left of my finances. I took control of all the accounts, changed passwords, and canceled cards. It was a move that would affect our relationship permanently, but it had to be done. Then, another news dropped. I got a call from a woman claiming to be my girlfriend's gambling buddy. She told me that my girlfriend owed a lot of money to some very unsavory characters. They knew where we lived, and they wanted their money. Fear gripped me. I had heard about these types of people, but I never imagined they would be knocking on my door. I did the only thing I could think of. I paid off the debt. It took nearly all of my savings, but I couldn't risk our safety. I felt like I was sinking into quicksand. The more I struggled, the deeper I got pulled in. Now I'm sitting here, waiting for her to come back from her GA meeting, and I'm at a crossroads. I love her, but love isn't supposed to be like this. It's not supposed to be full of lies, debts, and fear. I'm considering my options, but I'm lost. I'm trying to hold on to the remnants of a relationship that once was my everything. Her brother still checks in, but I can hear the disappointment in his voice. He's sorry he ever introduced us. I can't blame him. I'm sorry too. I'm sorry for the love I still feel, for the hope that flickers every time she looks at me with tears in her eyes, promising it'll be different this time. I'm waiting for her to walk through the door, and I don't know what I'll say. I don't know if there's anything left to say. I'm just trying to survive, to find a way through this nightmare. I'm not sure if this relationship can be saved or if I even want to save it anymore. I'm just tired, so very tired. Thanks for listening. It's a small comfort to know someone out there hears me. My husband's sister planned a party on our daughter's graduation day to spite us. So I played her own game and exposed her lies in front of the entire family. My husband, 56-year-old male, and I, 51-year-old female, have been married for 22 years. He has a lovely family, but their relationship is strained. Since he was a child, his mother, 82 years old, has always openly favored his sister, 55-year-old female, making this obvious with quiet, microaggressive comments and behaviors. She never said she cared for our children less, but she never took part in our kids' now grown lives, though she was involved with his sister's children daily. When one of our kids had cancer, she never once called or visited to see how they were doing, but would call to tell him about the things his nieces and nephews did. These slights have caused my husband a lot of pain through the years, but he's very non-confrontational and has always let these things slide. Besides, we lived a few hours away and only saw his family once a year for the family reunion. So he managed the issue by keeping a literal distance. Unfortunately, his sister keeps escalating the situation. Last month, we moved again, much farther away. His mother acted very hurt and has mostly frozen him out. Not that she was terribly warm before. His sister accused him point blank of abandoning their mother, leaving her to be their mom's primary caretaker. His sister also gave me the third degree about the move, asking whether we had considered all alternatives before making such a selfish decision. My husband and his mother are not close, and he does not feel obligated to take care of her. He has offered to provide any assistance his mother and sister ask for, within reason. But his mother is currently in good health and married to someone in good health, and as far as we can tell, they don't yet need and haven't asked for caretaking. I believe his sister is scared and afraid of her mother aging and dying, which is only natural given how close they are. And she's coping with this in part by lashing out at my husband. Even though I can intellectualize her behavior, I'm having a hard time dealing with it. This summer, we are planning to visit for the annual family reunion, and we both anticipate that it will be awkward if his sister continues to lash out and his mother continues to act cold. I asked my husband if he is sure he wants to go. He said yes. I have asked how he wants me to handle things when it gets awkward, and he says to do whatever I feel like. I respect his decisions, but have had a difficult time not building up resentment over the years for the way they treat him. My instinct is to defend my husband, but I don't want to escalate things and make it worse for him. What's the best way to support him during this trip and make it as comfortable for him as possible when it feels like we're walking straight into the lion's den? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Follow your husband on this. He doesn't want a close family. He doesn't care enough. Gray rock then when the time comes and don't react. But remember, you can build up resentment over this. You are allowed to feel that because your husband certainly does. You don't have to pretend you are okay with all that just because he is. You just need to act cool when the time comes, and then forget them for another year. Aita. It doesn't matter if your sister-in-law is feeling afraid of her mother dying or all that. That's her problem to deal with. If you get in contact with them for the sake of politeness, stop. If they call just to berate, you let them talk on the phone and do something else. Whatever your sister-in-law is going through is her business. You don't have to listen. Comment 2. Just tell them how you feel. My wife and I each have similar wacky in-law stories. We cared for my mother-in-law in our house for 3 years after my father-in-law died horribly. When her mom began to act awful to our kids, I told her, I will do whatever you want to help with your mom, but she treats you horribly. Just vocalize that you acknowledge it. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. Well, things took a turn for the worse. My husband's sister, let's call her the Queen of Drama, decided to throw a surprise 60th wedding anniversary party for their parents. Sounds nice, right? Wrong. She scheduled it for the same weekend as our daughter's college graduation, knowing full well we couldn't make it. She then had the nerve to blast us on social media for not attending, painting us as the uncaring black sheep of the family. The fallout was immediate. Relatives started calling, some berating us for our selfishness, others just confused. My husband was crushed. He's always been the type to avoid conflict, but this time, he couldn't just let it slide. He called his sister, and what do you know, she didn't pick up. So he left a message, clear and calm, explaining the clash of dates and our prior commitment to our daughter's milestone. But here's where it gets interesting. Our niece, bless her heart, overheard her mom planning this whole charade and felt it was unfair. She sent us a recording of her mom admitting she did it on purpose to show everyone what kind of people they really are. Armed with this, my husband posted the recording online. It was a bold move, and it spread like wildfire through the family. The aftermath was a mix of shock and apologies from the family. Some were ashamed they had jumped to conclusions. Others were just shocked at the Queen of Drama's pettiness. The family reunion was suddenly the least of our worries. Then, as if we hadn't had enough, my husband's mother fell ill. Nothing life-threatening, but enough to need some help around the house. The Queen of Drama was suddenly overwhelmed with the care and, in a surprising twist, reached out to us for help. My husband, being the person he is, didn't hesitate. He arranged for a local home care service and even went down for a few days to set everything up. His sister was quiet during his visit, probably out of guilt or maybe just shock that he was still willing to help after everything. But when he got back, she called, and for the first time in what seemed like forever, they had a real conversation. She apologized for the party fiasco, admitting she was scared of handling their mother's health issues alone. The family reunion came and went. It was awkward, sure, but there was a sense of relief, too. The elephant in the room had been addressed, and while not everything was perfect, there was a sense of, well, let's just say things were a bit more balanced. Thanks for reading this far. It's been a busy ride. My girlfriend's family drama spirals out of control, and she can't forgive my one mistake. So I stop apologizing and walk away for good. Last June, my girlfriend and I of 3 years got into a big fight. In short, I was in a car with her and her dad, where they were having a pretty loud, top-of-lungs type fight for a long time. I would say a decent bit of an over 2-hour car ride, and the remainder of the time was high tensions of silence and ongoing remarks. They have a history of fighting, and, in this case, it was about my girlfriend not wanting her dad to come over to her place to help fix some things, as he would complain about the condition of other things, which would lead to more fights. They were in town to celebrate a big milestone she reached. The weekend had other arguments, including her being constantly snarky and unfriendly to her dad that day. They have a long history of this, which is unfortunate. For pretty much all of it, I was a third party. I didn't engage, except maybe a few attempts to say it isn't worth it, but kept out. Yet, I was pretty worn out from the fighting and TBH, getting frustrated being in that environment for so long. After it was just me and her, she asked what was up with me, as I generally seemed frustrated. And I kind of let loose and shared my feelings, saying how it's crazy that they fight so much. It's problematic. And it's scary to think if we lived near her immediate family, this would be a constant thing. There was a lot of pent-up frustration in me, and I honestly regret the things I said and have apologized for them many times over in the last 10 months or so. Yet she still isn't past this and references it when we get into arguments ourselves. She says it showed my true colors, what I think about her family, and it was just wrong of me. I think it's fair she has those views. I said the wrong things and admit to being wrong. I have apologized many times and have worked to build a good relationship with her family, to in part show that what I said was in the heat of the moment and not a reflection of my long-term views of them or her. Her dad and I get along decently well and chat one-on-one. When we visit him about work, life, and he has asked me when I think she and I will take the next step. Similarly, I have a budding relationship with other members of her family. Yet, she says she is still deeply hurt, thinks about it every now and then, and can't even talk to her friends about it because of what they may think of me. I know I can't force her to forgive me. She has to choose to do that herself. And forcing it will only make it worse. I almost wish she talks to others about it because it may help her, whether it be to my detriment or not. For those that may have been in a similar situation or haven't but have thoughts, how would you think about it? Is there more I could do? Is it something that improves with time? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Seems like she is the type to hold a grudge and refuses to let things go or take responsibility for her part in conflicts. Did she ever sincerely apologize to you for forcing you to be exposed to the tension and arguing between her and her dad for so long? Has she taken any responsibility or agreed to improve her behavior so that doesn't happen again in the future? Or does she think she is entitled to force you to listen while she and her family snark at each other to the point of verbal abuse for hours for the rest of your relationship together? If she continued to hold this against you for the rest of the relationship, would you stay with her knowing that? If not, here's the thing. She hasn't indicated any intention of letting this go, so why stay now? Comment 2. Just leave and get on with your life. She can't forgive. You are just prolonging it. She is doing the same thing she is doing to her family. Guilty fights. She needs help. People who love drama and screaming and shouting are not normal. Now she has another outlet for her drama seeking. Let her know you can't apologize for the rest of your life, and you need closure or moving on. She is a grown person and needs to behave that way. I would move on from all of that. It is too much and depressing. Now, for the update, thanks for the comments on my last post. Well, things have escalated since then, and not in a good way. Just when I thought we were making progress, my girlfriend's cousin, who's always been a bit of a troublemaker, decided to stir the pot. He found out about our big fight from last year and, for some reason, thought it would be a great idea to bring it up at a family dinner. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. He made some snide remark about how I probably wished I was an orphan, so I wouldn't have to deal with in-laws. Everyone went silent, and I could see the hurt in my girlfriend's eyes. It was clear that this wasn't just about our old fight anymore, it was about trust. The next day, my girlfriend confronted me. She said she felt betrayed that I hadn't defended her more vigorously against her cousin's comments. I tried to explain that I was caught off guard and didn't want to cause a scene, but she wasn't having any of it. She accused me of not caring about her feelings and said that maybe her cousin was right to call me out. In the midst of all this, her dad, who I'd been getting along with, suddenly turned cold. He called me up one evening, his voice icy, and told me that he didn't appreciate me causing drama in the family. I was floored. Here I was trying to mend fences, and now I was being blamed for someone else's loose tongue. A week later, my girlfriend dropped another bombshell. She'd been talking to her ex, someone she always told me was ancient history. She said they were just catching up, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was looking for a way out of our relationship. I felt like I was losing her, and the ground was crumbling beneath my feet. Then came the moment that really tested everything. Her cousin, the same one who caused the scene at dinner, got into some legal trouble. Nothing too serious, but enough to cause a stir in the family. My girlfriend was torn between supporting her cousin and acknowledging that he was often the root of family drama. I saw this as an opportunity to show where my loyalties lay, so I offered to help with his legal fees. It was a move that I hoped would prove my commitment to her and her family. But instead of gratitude, my girlfriend accused me of trying to buy my way out of the doghouse. She said that throwing money at the problem wasn't going to fix the deeper issues between us. That's when I realized that no matter what I did, it would never be enough. She was holding onto our past fight like a shield, using it to keep me at a distance. I had to make a choice. I could keep trying to win her over, keep apologizing for a fight that happened almost a year ago, or I could start standing up for myself. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I told her that I was done apologizing. I said that if she couldn't see the effort I was putting into our relationship, then maybe we weren't right for each other. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to say. and it broke my heart to see the look on her face. But I knew it was the right thing to do. We both needed to be in a relationship where we felt valued and understood, and it was clear that wasn't going to happen with us. So we broke up. It's been a rough couple of weeks since then. I've been trying to keep myself busy, focus on work, hang out with friends. But there's a hole where my relationship used to be, and I'm not sure how long it'll take to fill it. I guess the moral of the story is that sometimes, no matter how hard you try, you can't fix what's broken. And sometimes, the only way to move forward is to let go. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.